Hi everybody. So I know that there was still a couple of loose questions, loose ends to wrap up, looking at slope-intercept form of linear equations. So I want to talk about that briefly today. After this, your assignment is on Desmos rather than here in OneNote. So let's remember that slope-intercept form of a linear equation looks like y equals mx plus b, where m tells us the slope and b tells us the y-intercept. So remember that slope tells us the steepness of the line and the y-intercept tells us where it crosses the y-axis. So that's always going to be our first step here, is to start by identifying that y-intercept and plotting it. So in this line, y equals 2/3 x minus 3. My y-intercept is going to be the point 0, -3. So I'm going to start by plotting that point 0, -3. And then a slope of 2/3. Remember that slope represents the vertical change divided by the horizontal change, or the change in y divided by the change in x. So 2/3 here means that we're going to go up 2 and to the right 3. So a positive 2, it tells us we're going to go up. We're always going to go from left to right. We're always going to go to the right because that helps us stay consistent. So think of it as reading a book, right? So oops, I need to do that correctly. Up 2 and right 3. Now, technically, you only need 2 points to graph a line, but I know some of us are more comfortable when we see more than 1 point there, right? Or more than 2 points, I should say. So we keep following this pattern. Now, the only time we should ever go to the left is if we run out of space to the right, and then we're going to reverse everything. So we're going to go down to right 3, or excuse me, left 3. And so notice it stays in line with those other points. And once I'm ready, I grab my straight edge, my ruler, whatever I have handy, and I draw my line, put some arrows at the end of it, and I'm good. So I'm always going to start with the y-intercept, and then I'm going to use my slope to graph the rest of the line. So example 2 here, again, we're going to start with that y-intercept. That is the coordinate point 0, +7. So I'm going to plot that point, 0, 7. And then a slope of -3. Remember, slope is a fraction of vertical change divided by a horizontal change. And if I don't have a fraction, I can convert any number into a fraction by putting it over 1. So that negative sign means we're going to go down 3 and to the right 1. Again, we're always going to go to the right. So down 1, right 3. And again, I only need 2 points, but if I feel better adding more than 2 points, I certainly can do that. Down 3, right 1, until I'm ready to grab my ruler. And Phil, let me trace my line. Come on, line. There it is. All right. So again, starting with the y-intercept every single time, and then using our slope to find the rest of our points. Now, sometimes it doesn't look like y equals mx plus b. So for example, example 3 here says y equals 4. And if I think about y equals mx plus b, well, it's missing this m and this x part, right? It's just a number there. So there are a couple of ways I can think about this. I could think of this as 0x plus 4. So what that means is that it has a y-intercept of 0, 4, and I can plot that. But a slope of 1, or excuse me, not a slope of 1, a slope of 0 means that it doesn't go up or down at all. It doesn't go up or down at all. It just keeps the same y value. So every point along this y value, or along this horizontal line, has the same y value. 4, 4, 6, 4, 8, 4. Everything has the same y value of 4. So whenever I see something that's written like y equals something, a number without an x, that is always a horizontal line. And so if I ever needed to graph a horizontal line, that's what I would use. I would use y equals a number. Now, the other kind of line that we could have that's not a horizontal line is a vertical line. So if I see something that's written like x equals a number, that is always going to be a vertical line, straight up and down. And the reason is, if we look at this, we've got x values of -2. It says x equals -2. Well, every single point along this vertical line has the same x value, -2. So I'm going to carefully draw my vertical line. Ideally, you would use a ruler here. But the fact that every point on there has the same x value is what makes it match this equation here. And something else to think about is because there is no y in the equation, we actually have what's called an undefined slope. But again, if I was ever needing to graph a vertical line, I would use the form x equals a number. So I want to do just a couple of more examples here. We talked about horizontal vertical lines, and I want to make sure we've got our slope and our y-intercept set. So example 5, y equals -x. And again, if I think about that slope-intercept form, mx plus b, well, it seems like I definitely have the x. I have y equals. What I have right here in place of m is actually a ninja 1, right? This is like -1x. And then I don't have a plus b, but I could think of it as plus 0. So my y-intercept is the coordinate point 0, 0. And then if I think of a slope of -1, again, I can always make it -1 over 1. Any number can be written over 1. And so that will be down 1 unit. And again, always to the right 1 unit. If I can avoid going to the left, I'm always going to go to the right. So down 1, right 1. And again, I don't need to fill this whole graph with points. In fact, that's not really a great use of my time. If I can just use my ruler and trace the path of the line, I should do that. There's no extra points for graphing the most number of points on the line, right? The goal is to actually graph the whole line. So I'm having trouble getting my ruler lined up here. Do my best. Let's try that. Pretty good. Okay. All right. And then one more. This example number 6, -4/3 x plus 1, always seems to get people a little bit mixed up because of the location of that negative sign. And the question I hear about that negative sign is, well, is it a -4 or -3? Truth is, it doesn't matter. When it comes to numbers and fractions like this, these are exactly the same value. If we have one negative sign, it is one negative sign for the whole fraction. But remember, I'm going to treat that negative sign as telling me that I'm going down and to the right. So I'm going down 4 and to the right 3. But again, it really doesn't matter if it's in the numerator or the denominator. Really, we should just be thinking of it as going down and to the right. So my y-intercept is 0, 1 because of my b value. So I'm going to plot 0, 1, and then I'm going to go down 4 and right 3. Down 4, right 3, maybe do that just a couple of times. And again, if I go in reverse, I go in reverse in both directions. So up 4, left 3. And then I'm going to grab my ruler and finish my line. All right. So again, slope intercept form, this is a review. It's just going to take a little bit more practice to get back in the swing of things. So check out the Desmos activity that is linked in Canvas. You may not be able to finish the whole thing today. That's okay. Please don't spend 3 hours trying to finish that activity. Try it out, see how it goes. And if you need more time tomorrow, if you need to ask questions in our Zoom conference, please do that. Otherwise, thank you for checking in and watching and staying engaged. I miss you guys. Have a really great rest of your day and let me know if you need anything.